Ever get that feeling where you finish a movie and it just sticks with you? You know, like it keeps kind of rattling around in your head?
Oh, absolutely. Some films just have that power, don't they?
Totally. And today's deep dive is on a movie that seems like it's going to be one of those. It's called Somewhere Quiet, and we're going off a review from the MovieKaTicket Films Review app. It's giving me serious chills just reading about it.
Yeah, this one sounds pretty intense.
From what I'm gathering, the director, Olivia West Lloyd, is taking the whole slasher thing in a really interesting direction. It's not just about the blood and guts.
Right, right. It sounds like she's more interested in what happens after. Like, how does the final girl cope with the trauma, the psychological fallout, once the immediate danger is gone?
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You survive this horrific ordeal, but what then? How do you ever feel safe again? How do you even begin to process what you went through?
Heavy stuff, for sure. And to make things even creepier, the whole thing takes place on Cape Cod. Beautiful beaches, charming towns.
Which is so interesting, right? Because we usually associate Cape Cod with like idyllic vacations and peaceful getaways. But in this film, it becomes almost like a character itself, kind of a backdrop of normalcy against this really unsettling story.
Totally. It's like that contrast really heightens the horror.
Okay, so let's dive into the plot a bit. The film centers on Meg Rhoads. She's the final girl in this case.
And she's played by Jennifer Kim, right?
Yep, Jennifer Kim. Meg has survived a kidnapping and is obviously dealing with a lot of trauma. She goes to her husband's family estate on Cape Cod, hoping to find some peace, some quiet to recover.
Makes sense. But I'm guessing it doesn't exactly turn into a relaxing retreat.
Not even close. Instead of finding solace, she starts uncovering all these disturbing family secrets. The review mentioned her husband, Scott, played by Kentucker Audley, becoming more and more menacing as the story unfolds.
Oof, so you're not even sure who to trust.
Exactly. And there are these other characters too, Madeline Whitman and Joe, played by Marin Ireland and Michael Neeson, and their motives are completely unclear.
So Lloyd is really keeping us guessing, huh?
Oh, big time. Like, in a lot of slasher flicks, you know who the bad guy is right away.
Mm-hmm.
But here, the threat seems to be coming from everywhere. Is it Scott? Is it Madeline? Is it Joe? Or is it all in Meg's head?
It's like a psychological puzzle, and it must be so challenging for Jennifer Kim to portray all of that. The viewer is right there with Meg, trying to figure out what's real and what's not.
It's like we're experiencing her breakdown right along with her.
And speaking of experiencing it, the film actually premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival back in June, which is, a pretty prestigious event.
Oh, definitely. A Tribeca premiere is a big deal for any filmmaker, especially for a debut feature like this. And it looks like it made quite an impression because Vertical picked it up for distribution pretty quickly.
Yeah, Vertical's going to be handling the release in North America, the UK, and Ireland. So that definitely tells you there's some industry buzz around this film, for sure. I do wonder, though, as much as I love the idea of really digging into the final girl experience, is there a risk it could become, a bit predictable? We've seen that kind of psychological thriller before.
That's a valid point. It's a fine line between being innovative and just rehashing familiar tropes.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see how it plays out on screen. It does sound like Olivia West Lloyd has a pretty unique vision, even if she is drawing inspiration from those classic slasher films. And hey, fresh voices in horror are always exciting.
Absolutely. Especially female directors. We need more of those in the genre. It'll be fascinating to see how Lloyd uses the visual language of horror to really get inside Meg's head. The review mentioned how she creates this constant atmosphere of unease and tension, which is essential for a psychological thriller to work.
Oh, 100%. You don't always need jump scares when you can just make the audience feel like something is deeply, deeply wrong.
Like the walls are closing in.
Yes, exactly. So for all you listeners who are already adding this to your watch list, Somewhere Quiet comes out February 2nd, 2024. Mark your calendars.
Definitely mark your calendars. And while you're waiting, here's something to think about. We've talked about the setting of Cape Cod and how it might play into the horror. But what if it's more than just a backdrop? What if the isolation of that location, the weight of the family history there, is actually causing Meg's psychological breakdown?
Whoa.
Like, what if the unsettling events are somehow tied to the place itself?
Okay, that is seriously creepy. I love it. This deep dive has given me so much to think about. Somewhere Quiet is officially at the top of my must-watch list. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds on screen.
Me neither. I have a feeling this is a film that's going to stay with us for a while.
I think you're right. It's not just about the scares, it's about the psychological impact, the questions it raises about trauma, family, and the nature of reality itself.
And who knows, maybe it'll even make us think twice about booking that peaceful Cape Cod vacation.
Maybe not all quiet is a good thing. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll be back soon with another fascinating film to dissect. Until then, happy watching.